I think rather than having everybody mute, unmute for introductions, I'm just going to introduce everyone, and then later on in the meeting when we have the sharing and Q&A part, if you use your mic, you can. So I'm not sure if the gallery is displaying the same on everyone's computer, so I'll just say your name and just wave at everybody. Diana, Trish, Jim, Pat, Jan, Mary. I think that's Jill over there waving her hand. A disembodied hand. Jayashri, Sharon, Dwayne, Tara, Caitlin, Barb, and there's our beautiful Lisa, without video, but we see you waving, Lisa. And the one that says Jennifer is the recording. So how to begin? If you have questions about the website or the technology or the logistics or blah, 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 do all that by email. And there'll be more of those logistics and stuff coming, but we'll save our time today and do all of that by email and stuff. My intent, it's funny because in talking with several of you, remembering the importance of words, and how we've all talked about, expressing the ineffable is crazy to begin with, and then words mean so much to different people and all of that stuff. And I used the word class. I should have just said online retreat. I mean, this class word freaked a bunch of people out, and some people are not even joining us over the class word. Don't worry, there will be no grade, and there will be no. I guess we're all indoctrinated into this. Like, if we hear that word, we are pretty sure we're going to have to do something, and there's going to be requirements and possibly grading and all of that. It's more like an online retreat, a sustained contemplation, group contemplation, and a chance for us all to dive a little deeper, a little more deeply maybe, than satsang for sure. And even at retreat, although we are diving very deeply, there's always this sense of a countdown with the, if it's a 5-day retreat or a 7-day retreat or a 10-day retreat. And I was thinking with the online retreat, I mean, me, crossing the bridge into this technology was, we can all just bow to Tim. There were some moments, but anyway, it's a little bit more of a chance to have a deep look deeply for kind of a sustained period of time. And some of this might get a little bit anecdotal, which most of you know I steer clear of most of the time, but some of it seemed pertinent when I was kind of trying to listen to what wanted to move forward here. You know, when the top sort of blew off, in this case here, over a decade ago, it was kind of an all at once movement. And, you've all heard my story, and thank God for Sharon Landreth and Adyashanti. Um, and when that first happened and I was asked to teach and all that stuff, you know, the realization, maybe the direct experience of what we are learning to call, all these different words: no self, fullness of being, wholeness, um, call it what you will, living as the shining unknown, the radiant unknown, living as that, as the direct experience, collapse of subject object, whatever we want to call it, was very present. But the joy inherent in that was not is matured or sobered, and the ecstasy inherent in that was not exactly grounded. And so the speaking about it and the teaching, was seemed so preposterous. Like, why would I ever do that? All the stuff. And so I kind of moved away from the emphasis of this way of being beyond the eye of experience, beyond the self-consciousness of experience. I moved away from that a little bit, even at retreat, to kind of try and point more to the path and to what seemed more relevant to all of us at that time. And I can remember going to some of Adya's retreats during that time and having regular conversations with Sharon about, and I remember Adya saying things like, well, he'd kind of dive into it for a second and I'd think, oh, he's going there. And then he'd be like, but not that relevant to that many people. So, and he'd sort of back off. And now, it's the full on presentation, somewhat all he's talking about. Because the time is now for all of us. The time is now. I think we all feel that, sense that, and are living that in our own various beautiful, unique expressions. So the intention here was to come back to that original motivation, I guess you might say. What was left? What was the really sort of only thing that wanted to be communicated at that time? And to come back to that a little bit more solidly and committedly, sincerely. So that was really the intention for this. Most of you have heard me speak sort of, love, 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 because that was the case here, was the ground, the discovery of the ground and the true nature of all of existence was uncaused love, is uncaused love, and can be really nothing else. And we've talked about with that word, and here we go again with the words and connotations. The word love and all of its meanings and expressions. But the way of being I'm attempting and we're all attempting to discover together and explore together and live together. It's a lived way, uncaused love. Love as the first cause with no other cause. It's not dependent on anything else. It's not created, manufactured, deserved, rewarded. It's not in relationship. It just simply is, as all of us and everything. And this way, that, we could call it an evolution, and I like calling it an evolution. It really speaks to my Aquarian nature, and I'm into it. It is really a lot like, caterpillar to butterfly, seed to plant, however you want to look at that in an evolution. But and Barb and Jim will know what I'm talking about. It. The last retreat I was at with Sharon, some folks came to visit, the Kogis, from a different part of the planet, and I can't conjure up from where at this point, but they don't live around these parts. They have never left this way. So yeah, we could speak of it as an evolution, but the thing is that the evolution is just that more, and hopefully all of humanity will be returned to this way of being. The Kogis would have had to realize the me. There's no me there. Never has been. They'd have to go on a big personal growth and seeking mission to find the me, We're going on one to lose it. Anyway, kind of strikes me as funny, but they're dead serious about getting the rest of us to come around. And reality is obviously dead serious about getting the rest of us to come around. And I just want to let everyone know in here that I'm not speaking about anything that each and every one of you hasn't at one time or another experienced, or maybe experiencing now, or the reason you're here, the reason I invited you, is because this is happening for you as you right now. So let's all make a pact not to get too bogged down with these words. It just slayed me this morning to hear that there were some people who didn't join because of the word class. If I say some words or something comes out and hits you sideways, lodges somehow or another, y'all know I'm very accessible. I'm a very accessible person and teacher. So please talk to me one way or another. So yeah, the actual experience of a lived reality of the whole, WHOLE, as the whole. Wholeness, living from, as, through, in, and as wholeness. So I wanted to go over maybe just a little bit of vocabulary. ego, or the I thought. You all know that for me, the way I describe this is just a self-generating function and process in consciousness. It's not an entity. It's not something to eradicate, fight against, deny, abuse, whatever we end up doing with it. It's a process to be recognized, sincerely recognized, and to be seen through and lit up so that it finally can take a break. It's a process that just for some unknown reason, I don't really know the reason, I'm not really big on reasons and whys, but becomes the identifier. I am this. My senses go out and they sense something. There's an experience and an event to be had. This self-reflexive process comes back in, usually right here, and begins describing, narrating, categorizing, and believing and identifying. My favorite description of this way of being, this wholeness, that my favorite right now, and the one that I've loved for a long time, is Byron Katie's, because it's so simple and it so mirrors the experience here. And that is, she just says, I became a non-believer. Period, the end. Very simple. That belief that generates then a feeling, then a belief, then a thought, then a feeling, then a belief, then an identification, then a thought that, well, Pat, it's fake news. The fake news. Great name for the ego. Just the process. It's just a process. It's not a big, scary, it's just been identified with. And there's a lot of layers. As Sharon Landreth so beautifully says, apparently endless layers of this conditioned, self-reflexive response to the events of reality. So that's what I mean by ego. And when that is somehow through meditation practice, devotion to a lineage or to a true teaching, or just for some of us sort of out of the blue, when that is plucked out of experience and there is no longer, it's no longer mediating and describing the experience. That's what we generally call the shift in identity, right? Awakening. First phase. Don't get too excited. But that's the beginning. That's the beginning of the end, right? As we all know, because up until that point, there may have been a very deep conditioned illusion that there's a seeker. there's a seeker and something to be found, and there's personal growth, and there's personal this, and da da da, and I've had this, and da, 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 da. And then after that point, it has you, you know, and the tractor beam, you can feel, it's like, whoa, what did I sign up for? And then that's sort of where the dismantling begins, which awakening, the destruction of the self-generating process of misidentification. That's just my definition. And as the identification with that process of misidentification unwinds, the I, like the I am, the I of experience, it folds, it lets go, it gives way, and goes through some phases of sort of progressively expanded identification at that point. Your circle of regard, as Adya says, gets a lot bigger as far as me and other. That starts getting very fluid. You find yourself caring about things you may never have cared about before and wondering why. Like Adya always says, one day I didn't ever care about any of this stuff. And that just mystified me why I did the next day. It's gotcha. So going through some phases until that I, that thing we relate to as I, gives way completely to is. And really it's more like as. In that, like, there's a change there, or there was here, and in other people I've talked to, where you can really feel the is of it all. And it's not like self-identifying all the time and like narrating and describing and throwing up conditioning in order to mediate and all that stuff. It just is. Reality is. But then eventually reality is as best I can do. And separation, disconnection, it can't be found really. Light, dark, in, out, up, down, good, bad. Are one whole, a wholeness. That is displayed in every moment and in every piece of every moment. And the knowingness, the believingness is just, it tries to come in sometimes, but it's not believable. Just not really very believable. Has less, it's not interesting in the same way that actuality reality is. A little bit more vocabulary here. I like making the distinction between these two words because I think they get very clouded, especially with like meditation instruction and all of that. Attention, there is attention. It's a function in consciousness. It's the attentive quality when you attend to something. You lend it your attention. We all do that with, various things. And I'm going to be hoping that we're all going to lend our attention to that which is more and more and more and more. The deeper, more subtle layers of beingness inherent in every single event and moment. Awareness, the pure clear light of every moment, the light that lights up the world, as George Harrison said, it is aware of attention as well. And people are mistaking this like, oh yeah, awareness, got it. And I kind of want to say, really? Like, man, when that dawned here, that rocked that was a new way of being, man. And then the more I dove into it with people, I started realizing that this function that we can all move around, we can follow our attention, we can move our attention, we can lend our attention, is being mistaken for awareness, which never comes, goes, moves. It's not even a consideration. It's not it's that which never comes and goes, ever. It's not part of it. So just to be clear on that, we don't move our awareness. Nobody moves their awareness to this part of their body or that part of their body in the way I'm using it. Attention. Just a little bit more and we'll take a break. So this word I'm using, wholeness. Open-hearted unbelievingness. An inability to sense separation or disconnectedness. The dissolution of the narrator and the central processor. It's like Shakespeare said, nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. That's kind of gone. Yeah. So the resolution of paradox, the resolution of where like what we would normally call the opposites or the duality of experience resolves as like a indivisibleness. So another one is just for all of us is that whole listening without agenda. We can call that meditation, prayer, devotion. It's a precursor to this wholeness, which is a listening, an open field listening, a global listening, where every moment is boom, 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 boom. And what is known is what is presenting. But the doorway in, or the precursor, you might say, the groundwork, is this deep availability. I always say it's like if you're meeting with a friend who's called you up and said, or a family member, somebody you deeply care about, called you up and said, I need to talk to you. Tara, do you got to go? See you next time. I need to talk to you. I need you to listen to me. I don't need a problem fixed or my experience to be described. I just need you to listen. And the availability and the heartfeltness of that is the kind of listening we bring to our heart, our soul, our spirit. This retreat, each other, and the world right now. Another name for it might be, that's kind of popular in spiritual circles, is presence. Everything is brought to light. And I mean that like literally, like, oh, what's the St. Paul quote where something to the effect of, this thing we call darkness is just really an absence of light, which is presence, which is deep availability, which is lived experience as the moment, without an agenda. Without an agenda. Those of you who have listened to Aj or been to his retreats, it's that thing he always says about how most of us are interacting with our spiritual practice as, hi, how are you? What can you do for me? I always get a big kick out of that. I think it's really funny because I know that one, right? Okay, I'm going to let us take a break. It looks like break time. So by my phone here, it's 10 till, so that's perfect. Let's come back in 10 minutes. Top of the hour. Okay. One more word to dissect. Mind. You can listen to a lot of different teachers and listen to a lot of different teachings and, all this, even in your own, maybe in your own descriptions of your own experience, your own inner teacher, that word can get kind of, you know, cloudy. So most of the time when I'm using that word, I'm talking about that process that we described as ego, but the thought part of that process, the thoughts, the descriptions, the narrator especially, that's a real key. When that narrator starts to dissolve and sometimes even drop out of experience, and you've all had that. Every single one of us has had that, just in moments of like pure joy, or like sometimes for some people who are very I know we have skiers and hikers in this group. When you are in the flow of a physical activity, there is no narration of your experience, and therefore there is no me. There's no me in that experience. I understand that the word mind can be used as a pointer towards like prajna, or enlightened minds, some might say, or pure knowledge. But most of the time when I'm using it, I'm talking about the self-reflexive process, the self-consciousness. Because here, in this case, and it doesn't have to be anybody else's case, I'm just illustrating with this, because both Sharon and Nadia have asked me to speak from my direct experience. So, the mind that was the heralding thing and the most disorienting thing. No mind. Meaning no narrator, no descriptor, no sensory awareness going out, bending and coming back in, and then being lived in the mind. Some people call it silent mind, but then everybody's trying to achieve it in meditation. And so that's, losing battle and lifetimes of cul-de-sacking. So I'm going to borrow from Bernadette Roberts, because this was the description that was most apt in my case. And this is from the Experience of No Self, Bernadette Roberts. Because I love really tangible examples, like real life practicality, get your hands in the dirt sort of examples, So bear with me here. To start with, it may be helpful to draw a comparison between mind, the basic mental structure, and that of a dry sponge, which is light and airy and can easily be carried by the breezes that come its way, like a baby's mind, if there even is one. Now, if we take the sponge and saturate it in the waters of selfhood, I am this, I am this, I am that, I do this, I do that, I believe this, I believe that, this is my thing, that's not my thing, this is, selfhood, the waters of selfhood, the sponge is becoming saturated. It becomes heavy, ponderous, and bloated. And because it cannot respond to the breezes, the moment, it virtually goes nowhere. If, however, the sponge can stay away from these waters and no longer allow itself to be used, it will eventually, by sitting alone and quiet, she's describing meditation or prayer here, for a time, dry out and return to its original structure. And it can kind of happen like this for a lot of people, just eroded over time by showing up, But there's another way this can happen, as in this case. This is for an outside agent to pick up the sponge, squeeze it dry quickly and all at once, and then put it aside to be used for other purposes than absorbing water. So neither's good, bad, better, worse, anything else. I just think it's a very easy thing to sense into. I guess what they're called metaphors. The sponge that has been quickly dried has, at first, a unique sense of lightness, emptiness, and freedom. And it takes a while to adjust to a new way of life, wherein it eventually discovers that the basic structure and its faculties remain intact and perfectly functional, but in a new way. A way no longer weighed down by the absorption of selfhood. Although it knows there has been some radical change that seems to be a transformation into something other than what it was, in time, it sees it has only returned. Oh, God, I love her. To what it was originally. And thus, everything seems to be the same as before, with the only difference being the absence of selfhood, water in the sponge. That's as good as it gets. If we could all be this good at describing. Silent mind, emptiness, no mind, no self. The power of now, as Eckhart says. Lots and lots of ways to, and through the ages too, right? All of us are really enjoy the different descriptions of, like, say, the Sufis, or just the simple emptiness dancing of Adya. Shiva Shakti united. And as we talk about it, especially in these kind of settings, it's really good for all of us to keep our attention on not on the strivingness that might creep in, the goal-orientedness that might creep in, the I'm going to acquire some kind of new knowledge. Her key word there is it's returned to the original. It felt very much like that in this case, like a return, like a remembering. Like, oh yeah. So I want to remind all of us, it's not to be gained or lost, rewarded, deserved. Nobody's unworthy and nobody's deserving. We simply are what we are, what we were created to be. And by the process of this sponge absorbing all the conditioning over the lifetime, it's just maybe become less and less obvious until something rattles our cage, like coronavirus, for example. Something rattles the cage. Something stands up and says something fresh and new. And you catch sight of it somehow, whether through meditation or, I don't know, a devotion, a destiny, perhaps. That there's more to this. There's more to this than the mind's description. And you start kind of moving into, what is this? Who am I? What is life? What is death? Becomes existential, you might say, rather than philosophical. And what I'm encouraging is the dropping in of your attention more and more and more and more and more to that more subtle current, because it's always there. It's always, 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 always there. And many of us are experiencing it as the in the foreground, let's say, kind of the main event. And then maybe on our cushion, or in times of it breaking through, or deep listening, or for whatever reason, devotion, it kind of fades back, in what the context becomes the main event. And then it might go back and forth. It might go back and forth for a while. But you can never really, really quite believe that main event so thoroughly ever again. And then the blossoming, the unfolding of the heart's desire. The heart's desire. I was going to put this in on the website as I looked after this morning to see what Adya calls it, because the word that came to mind was homework, and then I was like, I can't use the word homework, but Adya calls it written exercise. Is to look in there. I know it takes courage. I don't deny it for one freaking minute. Are you kidding me? It takes tremendous courage to be this vulnerable. I'm not being glib when I say take a swan dive into your heart. That's why we're here as a group, so we can hold that down and ground it and be here for each other. But I am saying, take a swan dive into your heart and see if it doesn't already know exactly what you want and have always wanted. You know, Sharon Landreth and I were talking the other day, and it's like in a lot of spiritual circles and for a lot of spiritual personalities, maybe for some of us, I don't know. You know, maybe there is this subtle current of enlightenment as the goal. Or maybe just even as the like curiosity. And what, what? What is this way? But I mean, right now, in this point of history or in the time-space fabric, if more of us could bring forward the desires, not the ego's desires, the desires of the true heart, the heart of the heart, into our moments, our everyday moments. It's really tempting to say it's what the world needs right now. Our hearts. And how easy, right? To, in a time like this. And that's okay too. Nobody's judging anybody in this group. But then the stamina and fortitude and ability to recognize, whoa, I'm super closed off right now. The sincerity of that is again an open-hearted move. That too is open-heartedness. I've heard through several conversations, different people I'm talking to and who are calling me, kind of a little catch in their narrative and their story and their voice when they say, and I guess I was a little sad or grievous, and then it's like, but I know it's for the good. I know this time is all for the good. But remember that wholeness is not perceiving it as I must focus on the good or I can't focus on, I'm all the way over here. I'm all the way over here. This is the whole thing. And right here has just deeply, deeply in our hearts has no issue with that. It's grievous. And there's deep and sustained joy at all times. So the more we can listen in that deep, available giving, I always want to use the word give when I'm talking about it because it is a giving. You give of yourself. Some people say serve the truth. And I understand that, or devotion, and those are all beautiful words too. I understand them. I see where they come from. But here, the more apt description is giving. Giving as. And if it's not giving as the truth at right now in your experience, it will be. You give from your the deepest truth that's right here, right now, in this moment. to the listening, to the commitment to recognizing this deeper, beyond recognizing the reality beyond the mind's description and the ego's conditioning. And then, somewhat miraculously, it feels like a miracle, like every moment becomes a miracle of participation in the movement for harmony and balance and love. It's like St. Francis's prayer. It's like an instrument. It's a beingness that reflects and moves as the deeper truth, the deeper identity, if you will, of all of us. It's not, we have to continuously, I have found in the last however many years of teaching, 6 years of teaching, I have found that unworthiness is a key obstacle. It is key. It's that layers of conditioning is so cultural and so deep, so woven in. You know, that somehow it has been bestowed on everyone else through their life. And then I'm sitting here looking, going, shine on, you crazy diamond. Pink Floyd, baby. Everyone looks like crystal diamond perfection. And no two the same, like snowflakes, like anything else that you love. Like anything else that you love, like this word, this nature word, or, you know, the things that your heart automatically opens to. Your children, your lover, nature, trees, plants. I don't know what it is for you. Your dog. The same movement is crying out to be brought into consciousness for your own true self. And then, what else are you going to do but love? And you've all heard the story, but April Fool's Day came around, and so that was the anniversary of Tim's mom's passing, and her 4 words, and we all always get together over WhatsApp and say the 4 words together, and, you know, kind of, but as she's passing, she's shriveled down nothing, 96 years old. She probably weighed 45 pounds. It's just these bright blue eyes, determined to remain conscious as long as she could so she could report her experience. I want you guys to know where I'm headed. And love, kindness, compassion, forgiveness, it's that simple. That's where we're all headed. So, like Adya says, may as well start where you're going to end up. And I know that if you're here today, this is happening for you. And that's why I wanted to bring us together this way as an opportunity to manifest the humanity of it, not just the individualness of it, the group aspect. You know, humanityness, humanness, heartfulness, one body, one soul, one spirit, all of it. We can get real cliche with it. I mean, that message has been out there. But now is the time to live it as a direct experience. And I know that's happening. I know that's happening for you. And there's some ups and downs with that. So we're all here for each other in that. There's some cul-de-sacs of confusion that can really catch you. Look at our timing here. You know, some of you might use or employ, say that word, self-inquiry, contemplation, inspiration, you know, like a piece of writing that completely absorbs your attention. Some of you might be, you know, the moving meditation types. I know Jayashree and I have talked about how, like, the whole context coming forward and the ability to be available as a deep, open, listening space can really come forward when I'm gardening, being with the plants. I really don't want you guys to limit yourselves. I would rather that you recognize what it is in your experience that, you know, floats your boat towards what we're talking about. Because we're all individual, and the beauty of creation is that unique expression. So there are tried and true, and I'm not dissing tried and true. But I'm also saying, you know, heads up. Be present. Be present. Be present in your days. Be present in your moments. Be present in your lives. And it's a matter of almost like catching it, you know? being present enough, and like Papaji used to say, vigilant. Vigilant till the end, he used to say. Vigilant till the end. There it is. The unbelievingness, the unknown, presenting right here in form. The mystery. Oh, I mean, there it is, right here in form. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. All ways. But it is a different experience. It's experientially, it's different, guys, than the condensed, very dense experience of the ego's processing. And it's a different experience than the observer consciousness, although that is a step in the, if we're going to call it right and wrong, but the right direction. That is a step. That is a loosening of like, whew, wait a minute. I'm not just completely at the mercy of this reactive function called the ego. And everybody in this room gets that. This is a different experience beyond that, and it's not an experience that is out of your realm of experiences. In the beginning, I suppose it's a matter of kind of prioritizing and discipline. That old-fashioned, it's an old-fashioned spiritual word, but takes some discipline. Takes some showing up. And some real sincerity. Some real sincerity about the actuality. I'm not trying to put Pat on the spot, but I loved it when she came back to retreat that time after going for a walk and was like, wow, I caught the fake news in action, man. I caught it. Exactly. And what exactly is never coming and going? Exactly. What is never coming and going? And how deeply can you lend and give your attention to that? And I wanted to speak a little bit about, because I've had some requests for it, about the actual physicality of that. And, you know, I really can only speak from my experience or maybe what people have told me. And like Sharon always says, I'm a real big experiencer. So yours does not have to mirror this. But there are physical changes, transfigurations. The physicality does not remain the same. My favorite way of looking at this, and it came down through my sister Adrian's lineage, and I can't remember who to attribute it to. It's one of her teachers. But if you think of the mind as the wind and the body as the sand, as the wind blows, the sand follows. Mind and body are one. The physicality changes. And also, and you all know I do not use this word lightly, and I hesitate to use it because it's been co-opted by what I call cult of Kundalini. But there is a worldwide Kundalini rising. The Earth's Kundalini is rising, has risen. So, all of the ancient, I went back and read them because, me, I'm a little like geek. And when the Kundalini, I had no reference point for any of this. So I went and read them. That is the evolutionary potential of physical matter. That's how they define Kundalini. Not, I can do superpower tricks and, don't even get me started. You guys can hear it in my voice. You know where I go with that. It's sad. It's sad for me that it's been glamorized and owned. That's a little bit. It is all of us. Nobody's without Kundalini. Nobody is not part of what's happening here and now. But the physicality, it changes. It can be very disorienting. What I'm trying to say is, as the attention is absorbed back in to that which does not come and go, and you begin to experience it more and more and more until it's the way of being, the physicality does go through some changes. So I don't know, a couple of you were asking me to actually address that because maybe not a lot of people do. It can be disorienting. Here, the entire sensory apparatus was completely changed. Don't see the same, don't smell the same, don't taste the same, don't hear the same. Balance is not the same. Not the same. That may happen just very naturally and I've always been a healer. That was one of the deepest identities here. And the curiosity about the body and the physical changes and all of that would download here, of course. Maybe not for you, but I want you to be, just have it in your awareness, because it could potentially be a little frightening, to wake up and have things not be quite sensorially the same, And I think people of a certain age have a conditioning that is like, I had never heard this word before, but I've heard it a lot since all this happened. Woo-woo or something like that. Woo-hoo, like it's woo-woo, or it's, metaphysical voodoo, or I don't know. And that's not what I'm speaking about at all. I'm speaking about the evolutionary change, if you will, in physical matter related to a raise in consciousness. It can be a little wild. And I don't want to put too many specifics around it because everybody has their own. But if you would like to speak with me about that, I know that's part of it. I understand that's part of it. Just even the, falling back sensation when what has always been the context for every experience you've ever had, for every content you've ever had, there's been a context. When that starts coming forward, it kind of feels like you're going back. I remember Jayashri talking about that one time at retreat. I know some of you have felt it. And if you're in the middle of whatever it is you do right now, all we do is stay home. So this is a great time. But if you're driving or, doing other things, some of these physical sensations can be really disorienting. And it is part of it. It's good to give voice to it. It's not woo-woo. It's not extraordinary or special. It's just part of it. Part of it. I mean, any one of us can look around and at any given moment right now, watch physical matter change right before our very eyes. The whole physical structure of society is changing. The immune system is transfiguring. And don't forget it. I think we should have a 10-minute break and come back right before the top of the hour. And then I'm going to open it up to you guys. And then we will end with a guided meditation. And I think if the sound is good enough, I think Jai would sing for us. I'm pretty sure. Okay, friends, take a break. Shake around. So we'll just begin with where we always begin, a gentle, kind availability. Just very simple recognition of the right now, right here. The undeniable now. And I just kind of notice that when we do that, the whole body kind of relaxes and you almost want to sigh. It's like a settling. Just a very simple moving the attention in a kind and gentle, available way to the undeniable direct experience of being. And it's worth noticing that movement of our attention in a simple way that movement into the presence of our own beingness has a relaxing, settling quality to the body, to the mind. It's something we can trust. This sense, this very direct sense of beingness in each and every moment. Without giving it a description or a judgment or a category, it just simply, obviously is. It's completely trustworthy. The isness of right here, right now. It's almost as if you can feel that quality, that sense, that directness of the beingness in the soles of your feet, drawing you down, rooted into the ground. It's all around you. It's all around us. It's all through us. And it's also deep, deep inside the abdomen, deeply inside the chest, the lungs, that sense of right here, right now. Alive quality is deeply in the head, beyond the thoughts. It's all around us. And the body just knows this, settles right into it. And from this place of attention, from this trustworthy, undeniable, direct experience of beingness, just very gently encourage and invite the attention into the heart. The deep, deep heart of the heart. And at any moment, if the uncomfortability or the timing is not quite right, or for any reason, it's a simple gesture to move your attention back to the sense of beingness, the just right here, right now, that's all throughout your body and around your body and down into the earth and everywhere. And just feel your body relax. into this knowing, this place of trust and faith of the right here, right now. And then again, just gently, with understanding, invite the attention deep into the center of the center of the center of the chest, the heart of the heart. And allow, listen, remain open. We are the expression of the one true heart, the one true love. We are that through and through and through and through and through. In no way separate or undeserving. In no way unloved. There is no way to be separate from our true nature. Right here, discoverable in this moment. Just allowing the attention again and again to return to that undeniable sense of being, and the deep, fiery, flame of the eternal heart. Who can tell what miracles love has in store for us? If we only have the courage to become love itself, everything we think we know now is only the beginning of another knowing that itself has no end. And everything we can now accomplish will seem ridiculous to us when the powers of our divine nature flower in glory and act through us. I really loved being with you guys. I hope I hear from you. Um, I'm sure I'll be thinking of some things and some further directions, like where to go from here, and putting some stuff on the website page. So, what beautiful, beautiful beings. I hope you have a beautiful afternoon and a beautiful, remarkable day and evening and tomorrow. And I will really, really look forward to being together again. Thank you for your presence. Much love. Bye, Jill.